My name is Kristin, and thank you for joining me for iQImage Consulting's second installment of Dressing for Your Personality of Style. Last week we talked about the 6 different personalities of style. There's 3 on the Yang side, which is our masculine influence, and 3 on the Yin side, which is our feminine influence. Now all of us have elements of both Yang and Yin within our personalities of style, but typically we'll have one that is dominant, and it does not matter, it's irrespective of your gender, but either you'll have a stronger Yin influence or a stronger Yang influence. And the way you can tell is whatever your favorite outfit is, and you feel amazing in it and just super fabulous and you can go accomplish anything, it's because that particular outfit is in alignment with whatever your personality of style is, and it just literally suits you and is in total congruence with who you are, and it allows you to do what you need to do without thinking about what you're wearing. So, pretty cool stuff. All right, so let's dive into this week's installment. So this week we're talking about our middle of the road personalities of style on each the Yang and the Yin side. We have Ann The Aristocratic on the Yang side, which again is middle of the road for the Yang side. And on the Yin side, we have Carissa The Creative, who again is middle of the road on the Yin side. So by middle of the road, I just mean they're second. So there's 3 different on each side. The dramatic is the most extreme Yang. Then we have our aristocratic, and then we have the natural, which we'll talk about next week in our 3rd installment. On the Yin side, we have our romantic, which is the most extreme Yin. Middle of the roader here, which is our creative. And then next week, we'll talk about the classic, which is the 3rd. Okay, excellent. So let's dive in then. So on our Yang side, we have Ann the Aristocratic. And let's talk about the physical traits first. Aristocratic personalities of style tend to be very tall, athletic, and just solid in their presence, right? So muscular and kind of like the warrior that you would definitely want on your team, right? Or maybe in gym class when you were younger. Their bone structure is strong and solid. And they tend to have fuller eyebrows, stronger noses, wider, fuller mouths. It's just a solid look. For their style traits, again, it's in total congruence with all of that strength in their physical traits. So in their style, they can handle the heavy, strong, traditional male, fabrics of tweed and herringbone and wool and heavy cashmere and just anything that has a lot of weight to it and is serious and solid and strong, because it totally fits both their physical traits and also their value system. Aristocratics are very, very tied to tradition. They value education. They value due process. They are animal lovers, and they really tend to be surrounded by larger dog breeds or perhaps horses. So all of those things make them, and old money comes to mind as well. So they're just solid in their colors and in heavy-based male-centric patterns. Remember, lots of angles when we have male-based patterns. So we have a great V-neck here. And again, they tend to button up and do everything because it's traditional. It's just what they were taught, and they do it without even thinking about it. It's not because they're so concerned with prim and proper and neat and tidy. They will invest in their wardrobe, but they will not need to buy 100 of anything. They will buy a few pieces that are really high quality, and they will wear them until they are literally not salvageable anymore. And even then, they'll probably still keep them and just wear them in the barn instead of going out. So they are not frivolous with their money, but they are willing to invest. The jewelry tends to be chunky, again, very, very Yang-centric, but not a lot of it. And also probably pretty valuable, whether it's just a nice piece in general or because it was passed down from generation to generation. Again, they're full of tradition. They will always have some kind of really stylish but kind of classic touch that just kind of wraps it all up. But again, they're also very approachable. So the shoes are interesting. So an aristocratic loves boots. They're practical, they can be worn to the barn, and they're just comfortable. They don't need a lot of heel or height because they're already tall and athletic and strong. But high quality leather and just simple, right? But they're gonna last forever, and they expect that. So expect to have a lot of boots in an aristocratic's closet. All right, so for their image, I think the best way to go through that is just when you meet them, you're meeting someone who solidly has their 2 feet planted on the ground, quite literally a grounded person, one that is serious, and you're eager to meet them and they're eager to meet you because they're approachable. And when you go to shake their hand, you immediately notice the size and strength of it, and you're like, oh man, here it comes. But their handshake is always just, it makes you feel safe, and it has a very gentle firmness to it. So it's always really nice to meet an aristocratic. Super, super nice. So thank you, Ann. Lovely spending time. We're gonna hop over now to our Yin centric over here. This is, again, Carissa the Creative. And you know what? I don't need to spend a whole lot of time right here because it's just all about Carissa, which is really what a creative does. And their physical structure, just quickly, they tend to have very fine bone structure. So opposite of our aristocratic, they tend to be a little bit shorter, fine bone structure, and just think elfin. Think wispy, fine, smaller mouth, maybe a small, maybe even slightly pointed nose. Their hair could be light and wispy. Everything about them is just light and flitting everywhere. And they are constantly in motion. You cannot have a creative just, sitting still. It's not going to happen. They are constantly in the creative process. In terms of their style elements, a creative loves to mix up everything. So expect pattern with pattern with pattern with pattern, color with color, just the unexpected combinations, texture with texture. So faux fur with crushed velvet, and the satin huge tie with a leopard print matte jacket. And then we have floral print pants, and yes, the coup de grace for this creative. Good job, Carissa. Here is a fabulous shoe for her. A platform, but it's in a zebra print, right? And it has the elements of the bow to tie in the bow here, but it's a 3rd print, and not a lot of non-creatives can carry off 2 to 3 print mixings. They just would not be comfortable. So, well done, Carissa. And again, freedom of movement is extremely important. Where aristocratic loves structure and to be just cinched in, because that's what you do. Heavy fabrics, this is all about light fabrics and layers, and everything will be fine. So a thin blouse, thin blazer, thin comfortable pants. Not one zipper, button, or clasp is in this entire outfit because they cannot stand to be restricted in their movement. They must be able to move around. And again, she had arms, she'd have at least 10 bangles, but they would all be really thin and fine, and probably a mix of colors and patterns and clangy noises and all that. For their image, a creative is always super fun to meet because they always have fabulous stories. They tend to say unexpected things. And they might meet you and have a very specific purpose, but once they meet you, they forgot what it was because you just reminded them of something else. And then they have this really cool story that kind of comes out of nowhere, and it's just fun to be with them. Creatives are really good problem solvers. The aristocratics are as well, but they're very linear and very structured in how they approach things. But the job gets done. A creative will take an unknown path. I mean, there isn't even a box to keep them in. And they will come up with really interesting solutions. So really fun to work through a process with a creative. But check on them. They forget to eat. They forget to water plants. Maybe a goldfish at best for a pet. They're just always on the move and totally in their zone. So there you go. All right, well, that wraps up our second installment. So thank you for spending the time and meeting Ann and Carissa, 2 amazing personalities of style. Let me know if either one of these kind of resonated with what you think you might be. I welcome any questions or comments below. And thanks for being here. Just have an awesome day and have fun getting dressed. Ciao.